Thanks everybody for joining us today. I know if you're joining in from the US, it's a busy day, so we appreciate, maybe this is a great distraction, just taking the time to kind of tune in with Akshat and myself for a webinar today, so that's great. I'm Emily from GoWP, so welcome to today's webinar, which is a masterclass in website security with Akshat Choudhary. Am I saying that right?
That's good. I think you got it right the first time.
Okay, good. Sorry, I should have confirmed before we got started. I meant to. Really quick, I just want to say a couple words about GoWP in case anyone watching isn't familiar with us. So at GoWP, we are a team that is devoted to helping agencies grow by providing exceptional outsourced WordPress services. Agencies that partner with GoWP are able to focus on the low-touch, high-value work that helps them grow because they can depend on GoWP to take care of the high-touch, low-value work that disrupts their day. Things like website maintenance and never-ending content edit requests that come in from clients at all times of day and night. So when you get GoWP on your team, we work as an extension of your team and take care of all of those for you. I also want to say that creating a GoWP partner account is absolutely free and gets you access to all sorts of resources to grow your agency. Currently, at the moment, we're always adding stuff in, but we do have landing page templates. We have a maintenance schedule lead magnet, landing page templates to help you generate leads, increase your recurring revenue, all sorts of stuff that you can take, edit, make your own, put your branding on it and use with your clients. And you can create your partner account at my.gowp.com, and I'll throw that in the chat here, and I'll get that in the Facebook chat when I'm done talking. You may have seen also, if you're familiar with GoWP, that we launched our new dedicated developer service. I'm really excited about this service. It's one we've developed hand in hand with our customers. And so far the launch has had such a fantastic response. In case you missed the announcement or you're not in our Facebook group, we developed dedicated developer because we know that hiring devs it's hard, and it's hard because you can hire somebody who then ghosts you, maybe doesn't show up, hiring someone who ends up having the wrong skills, hiring someone who becomes toxic for your team and your agency, or hiring someone who just doesn't share your priorities and isn't getting the work done on time or at the rate that you kind of need them to. So we're getting rid of all those struggles and mistakes, and this service places one of our full-time developers directly on your team to work on any WordPress tasks. They will work in your tools, on your schedule, 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday. And the launch of the service has actually been so successful that we're kind of sold out at the moment. So that's something we're dealing with. We're working around the clock to hire new developers and onboard them and bring them up to speed with everything. But if you'd like to, if you're interested, you can go to gowp.com/dedicated developer, and there is an interest list that you can put your name on. And once we do have those developers available and ready to place on teams, we'll reach out to you. So if you have any questions about partnering with GoWP and how we can help your agency, feel free to email me at emily@gowp. One last thing I wanted to tell you about, if you're watching this in Zoom, is our Facebook group. So for those of you who may not be a member yet, it is the GoWP Niche Agency Owners Facebook group. This is a community of agency professionals who either already serve a niche market or would like to niche down. We're broadcasting this webinar live in that group right now. The recording will be available there afterward. So you can request to join and we'll get you in there. I'd love to see you. It's a great group. We have a lot of fun things going on, like webinars, workshops that are exclusive to the group, and all sorts of things there. So a few notes regarding the webinar. I will be watching the chat both here in Zoom and over on Facebook. So if you have any questions, comments, throw them up in the chats and I'll get them to Akshat for whenever they're appropriate and when we have the Q&A possibly at the end. So that's great. And I see that the chat is working great in Zoom, and we've got people in the Facebook group too. So fantastic. You guys are all great. All right, so let's get to why we're actually here today. Akshat. Akshat is the founder and CEO of BlogVault, Malware, and WP Remote, all of which are successful WordPress plugins designed for complete website management. Akshat has transformed his side project into a profitable venture that is now scaling new heights in the Indian startup space. Akshat's core belief is to assist in the best possible manner. And at GoWP, we love Akshat, we love BlogVault, so we're really excited to have him on this webinar today. So welcome, Akshat. How are you doing?
Hi, Emily. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome. I'll hand it over to you now so you can just take the reins.
All right. So hi, everyone. I'm Akshat, and I'll get started with the presentation. Thank you again, Emily and GoWP for hosting me. Yeah, I'm glad to be again working again with GoWP, and will love working with GoWP. I've been working with GoWP for years. And yeah, let's get started. So I have a presentation, and there are going to be some live parts to the presentation. So hopefully Murphy does not show his head. So let's get started. Okay. And here we go. Can we see my screen?
Looks great. Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to go full screen. All right. Okay, so we're going to talk about WordPress security, and while you might see the topic as how do websites get hacked, actually, and that's the great place to start. That's the right topic to have when it comes to talking about WordPress security. And the reason being, you need to know how sites get hacked to be able to secure it, because one of the biggest challenges which people face is that they don't understand how sites get hacked. And if you don't understand that, then you just don't know how to secure it. So it's almost like if you don't know how a house can get robbed, then you don't know how to secure it, because then you just don't understand what are the vectors or how things really happen, and you're conjecturing. So I'm going to get started. So the topic is how do websites get hacked? I'm Akshat Choudhary. I'm founder of Malware, BlogVault, and WP Remote. Those are our products. Okay, I've seen 10,000 plus hacked sites. Okay, over the past few years. Actually, it should be much larger than that, but a conservative number is 10,000 plus hacked sites over the past few years. And because of this, I have a good understanding of how sites get hacked, what exactly is happening when sites get hacked, right? And we also have a product which helps with this thing. It's called Malware, but we'll come to that later. So we'll get started with the story, okay? And this is actually quite an exciting one. There's a documentary, a Swedish documentary called Helikopterannat, and I can barely pronounce it, which came out a few years ago. And it's about this incident on 23rd September 2009. Okay, a helicopter landed on a money vault in Sweden. Okay, and there were explosions. They were like machine guns and caltrops, those things which you throw on the road to puncture cars' tires, and there were bombs, right? And the millions were robbed from that vault. And it actually looked really like a movie scene. This is a movie scene from, I think, Heat, a very famous robbery movie, and a heist movie, and that thing looked like this. But you'll be wondering, how does all of this relate to WordPress? And this is what people actually think WordPress security looks like. It's about brute force attacks. People, when people trying to hack your site, they are attacking your site with hundreds of thousands of attempts, and that's how we think your site gets hacked. So this is a chart which is very popular stat shared by WP Beginner on their site, 450,000 attacks. It's a very popular question on Facebook. Every now and then you will see that people are asking, upon checking my WordPress logs, I see that there are tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of attacks or requests on my website to XML RPC. So does this mean my site has gotten hacked? So this is what you think, what a lot of people think this is how their sites get hacked, and it's because of a continuous stream of login attempts, and people are trying to crack your password, right? But frankly, this is a very, very easy thing to fix. This way of breaking of trust of someone trying to hack your website. There are so many different ways of doing it. You should have strong passwords. You can limit the login attempts. You can have captcha based protection, and you can have two-factor authentication. And all of these, or even some of these, are sufficient to protect you from this type of attack. So strong passwords is what I think a lot of us, almost every one of us, would already know. You know, these passwords which are not easy to guess. Don't use a password like QWERTY or PASSWD or anything of that kind. You want to limit the number of login attempts a single IP can make, because if someone attempts too many times, then you want to stop them. You can show a captcha, and this can work two ways. There are accessibility issues with it, but nonetheless, captcha can keep out robots. And finally, you can have two-factor authentication, which is again a great practice. So these are some ways of protecting against login attacks or such brute force attacks. But even after you did that, you would think that because of all of this, WordPress hacks are like action-packed movies, but no, they are not. Less than 5% of hacks happen because of somebody's password getting cracked using brute force attempts. Okay, so what we had was, we had, like, all of these things. They are like, we had armed guards, we had vaults, we had locks, we have security cameras to protect our site, to protect a vault, right? Or those strong passwords and all of it to protect our site. But hacks don't happen that way. Hacks actually are like a sniper, are like a sniper rifle. They have pinpointed. They know exactly where the weakest link is, and they attack that weakest link. Okay, and with WordPress, it's typically WordPress vulnerable plugins or themes. So there are plugins. There are, first of all, tens of thousands or 100,000 plus plugins or themes in the WordPress ecosystem, and they have, over time, the vulnerabilities are found on these plugins, right? And when these plugins get vulnerable, they can lead to a site getting hacked. Okay, and just, I think, in this year itself, there are like more than 2,000 plus known vulnerabilities which have been documented in plugins and themes. And so what are the types of vulnerabilities, and how do they lead to sites getting hacked? Okay, and what we see is that there are different types of vulnerabilities. You have SQL injection, cross-site scripting, remote code execution, and general vulnerabilities. So, and I'll give examples of each one of these, and I will also show each of these vulnerabilities in action. Okay, and I'll also, and we'll go for a little further in that. So in case you are not aware of what SQL injection is, so WordPress consists of PHP, and it consists of MySQL database, right? And the PHP code interacts with the MySQL database. And while the WordPress has a lot of very clear, safe APIs to interact with the database, occasionally plugin authors or theme authors can make a mistake and introduce a vulnerability wherein any input which is provided by the, actually, let me make it simpler. Hacker can extract information from the database which they were not supposed to, because there was a mistake in the code. So that's SQL injection. Cross-site scripting is slightly more complex. In cross-site scripting, the hacker injects a piece of code into your site, so that they can use that script. This code, they make it execute in the admin's browser or in any of the visitors' browsers, and use that script to capture unauthorized data. Remote code execution is much simpler, where a hacker just gets any piece of random code or whatever code they would like to execute on your site. So it's not only WordPress code which is completely authorized by you or your own plugins, but some other piece of code which runs, and it gives complete control to the hacker. And finally, you have general vulnerabilities, which are some combination of code working together in a weird manner, which leads to a hack, and which leverages how WordPress generally, the general structure of WordPress, instead of any of the three above that we have spoken about. And I'll give an example of this one. Okay, so let's get started with SQL injection. What we have here is this is what for the demo. What I'm going to use is I'm going to use Postman, which is a tool which lets you construct special requests and send to the server, to a website. In this case, we are, and for all the demos, we are using vulnerabilities, known vulnerabilities, which have come in the past few months, or past, I think maximum it goes back a year or so. So we are going to try and exploit those vulnerabilities. In this case, you can see that here we have a website, and we are sending a SQL string. If any of you are developers, you will recognize that, okay, it's a string, but it's a SQL string which frankly should not have been allowed. And when the SQL string is sent, we got back the MySQL version, but apart from this, some other information could have also been retrieved, which was not supposed to be allowed. So let me give you an example of this. And okay, so what I've got is I've got the same script loaded on three different sites. Actually, I'll cover the other two parts later when we move slightly further, but let me just cover this one. So I'm going to, you can see that I have got, okay, so SQL injection is this one. Over here, I've got this SQL injection query, and I send it. And you can see, while you cannot see the actual error in this specific case, it's you can see that the request was allowed and served by the site. Okay, so here the site was clearly allowing our SQL injection request to succeed and not blocking it out. Okay, and which is not a good thing. In this, I think this website we have here, we got a very clear answer. But it can this injection can work in different ways. Okay, there's a second one is XSS attack. This is cross-site scripting. In this case, we are sending a special JavaScript code as part of our request, and that JavaScript code gets saved in the database. Okay, you can see that the request from Postman is getting saved in the database. And now when an admin accesses the WordPress site, this JavaScript can load, will load, and then the hacker can execute anything that they want. Okay, again, if you will see, it's like SQL injection here. Again, there's only a single very, very pinpointed request that is getting made to the site. It is not hundreds and hundreds of requests, but very clear, you know the problem that is existing on the site, and you make only a single request. So this is another example of how sites get hacked because of cross-site scripting, where a very simple request can get something injected on a site into a site in an unauthorized manner. I am going to try this on my site, and I actually have, and you can see that I've got the script here. Actually, maybe we should try and see what the script does. Inspect, let's see. Console. I think this is a okay. Here we have a check here. So okay, so please ignore this. But yeah, so this script, because I ran it in an incorrect manner, it didn't work. But if this script gets embedded in your site, then it can be used to send any information to a hacker. Okay, and I'm going to send it. And I get a -1 response. Actually, this one, I think we have got some security system set up on this site, which is blocking it. But vast majority of sites allow a script of this kind. Okay. So as you can see in the demo, the screenshot when we took that in the demo that when we took the screenshot. Okay, and there's a third kind of hack where we upload a zip file, and that zip file gets uploaded to the site. The zip file contains a hacked script, and that script gets unpacked and stored on your site, as you can see here. So this hacked zip file is accepted by the site, and you can then execute whatever code is in that script file. And again, a single request. The most important part actually I want to cover is that these are all single requests, and they make your site vulnerable, and it does not create a lot of noise. So you need to prepare accordingly, and a lot of things that you would do traditionally will not help in protecting you from such attacks. Okay, so this PHP script one, I select a file and even.zip, and I think this one is allowed, is accepted. Okay, so I'm really sorry. For some reason, today when I try to reproduce it, the site is misbehaving. But the reality of it is, even this 400 bad requests in reality actually means that the site, the zip file was accepted by the site. Okay, yeah. And finally, we have a last type of a request where, and this is a general vulnerability, where because of some vulnerability, you can change the home URL of the site. And if you in a home URL is, or in this case, the site URL, site URL and home URL of the site. So what it lets you do is, when you visit the website, it will redirect your site to this specific URL. And this is a very, very common type of attack, where your site URL gets overwritten, and then when any of your visitors access the site, they are taken to a completely different site. And that attack is also here. And here the body, you can see that the body is very simple. I'm redirecting it to a different site URL, and that will work. We got a 200 OK. And internally on the site, this new thing gets saved. All right. So now this is what I showed on an unprotected site, or a site where you don't have any security measures in place. So what kind of security measures can you add to protect you from this? And let's assume that we have added a security plugin. Okay, you can see that a security plugin, even if you added a security plugin which has a firewall, only 2 of the requests got blocked. The other 2 were allowed to go through. Okay, so there's no such thing as foolproof security. Let me tell you upfront. But and we'll come to that later. And we'll also come to what the security plugins are also later. So now that our site is hacked, where does the hack go? Is it a lot of times when you post on forums like, okay, my site got hacked, how do I find if my site is hacked? They're like, okay, look at the core files, and while that might seem like, okay, yes, we can look at the core files and identify if anything has changed or it looks funny, it's actually easier said than done. But that advice itself is not good, because a hack can sit anywhere. It can sit in the database, like we saw. It can sit in any part of your site. People can create an existing plugin, or it can go in any existing file anywhere, in the core files, in plugins, in themes, or people can even create new plugins And so hackers are very smart, and they will infect your site in many different ways. They can also put it in an htaccess file, and this is an example of a hack that sits in the htaccess file, where certain type of requests, maybe only the request from Google will be redirected to a different location. And so you will see your SEO and SEO traffic plummet, but if you visit the site, you don't see any problem. It can go in your config file, and the hack can look really funny. It can go in your uploads folder, or it can go in your root folder, even in index files. So like the hack can, and as we showed earlier, it can go in the database. So the hacks can be placed anywhere. And so this brings us to the question: are there any solutions to this? This seems quite like, if you have like a sniper pointing at you, it seems like a lost cause. It almost seems that, okay, can we do anything about it? And actually the most important thing, and I think even Emily from GoWP will tell you that this is the most important thing. You need to update everything, keeping everything updated, and which again GoWP does a fantastic job of helping you get all your sites updated, is the most important thing. And that is because there's no such thing as foolproof protection. But if you keep everything updated, you know that you're reducing the surface area dramatically, and you're also making sure that as hacks get discovered, they get patched also. So when the patches are released, your sites are patched. A lot of hacks happen after the first announcement is made about the vulnerability. So if you get it patched soon after the announcement, then you are reducing the scope or the time frame within which your site can get hacked. But having said that, there's no such thing as foolproof security. There's always a window of opportunity, or window where vulnerabilities are lurking around before they are discovered by the WordPress community. And in such cases, your sites are always vulnerable. So keep in mind that if you are applying security plugin, using security plugins and applying 100 different methods there, it might feel like you are foolproof. Now your site is 100% secure, but there's no such thing. You're always vulnerable. So after having updated everything, I would highly recommend scanning it on a regular basis, especially as agencies. As an agency, you want to make sure that you're scanning all your sites every day for malware. And the scans have to be deep scans. They cannot be a surface level scan. So there are cloud scanners or remote scanners, which they almost act like these temperature guns. Now you have to check for COVID. And you can imagine that while it can tell you the temperature, it actually does not. It's not the antigen scan, which actually tells you whether you're infected or not. And that's a deep scan is like an MRI. It goes inside your site and tells you if there are any problems. But from a surface, you cannot identify a lot of these hacks or problems that exist. So you need to ensure that you have deep scans of your website. And if your sites ever get infected, you need to clean the malware as soon as possible. And the reason is the reason you need to clean it as soon as possible is because the longer a malware is around, the more damage it causes. Hackers will add a small code onto your website when they hack it at first, and then they will revisit it to really exploit it. So first they will basically create a they'll create a backdoor, or they will mark your site essentially, and then they will really exploit and utilize the hack to the full advantage. But if you can patch your site as soon as it's hacked, then you reduce the damage done to the site considerably. Okay, and I am. There's one more thing. Actually, I'm really sorry. For some reason, I think I've made a mistake. Done. The other thing you can use and you should use is a firewall. Okay, so firewall we think is the most important thing you can do to protect your website. And a firewall uh, is is very important, but it is not foolproof. And as I showed you earlier in the slide, the firewall did block 2 of the attacks right out of the box without any configuration whatsoever. If you did not use a firewall, you could have gotten attacked by all 4 of these attacks. And not all firewalls are same. So some firewalls, and this is what I wanted to show next, is you can have different types of firewalls. And we'll show the attacks. We'll repeat the attacks on 2 sites which are protected by 2 different types of firewalls. And you will see that the behavior is different. One firewall will protect you from one type of an attack, and another firewall will protect you from some other type of attack. So there's again no foolproof way. Different firewalls are created differently. But depending on your need and the resources available to you, you can opt for a firewall which works best for you. In our opinion, firewall is the most important is the best thing you can do to protect your site. Okay, so this is a cloud-based firewall we are using, and repeating the same attack where this is an XSS attack. And you can see that the attack was let through by the firewall. So, okay, fine. So this firewall did not block from this type of attack. Let's try another attack. This time we're trying the PHP remote code execution or vulnerability. Let's see if the firewall attack blocks you from this. And here you can see the firewall blocked you. You got a 403 forbidden. And there is no special rule which is configured on the firewall to protect against this. So because firewalls automatically understand that certain things are wrong, they can block you right out of the without doing anything extra.
Akshat, we just had a question come through from Shenandoah that if there's a firewall on the sites through Cloudflare, should they also have a firewall on the site apart from that?
Okay, so one theory says that you should have the more firewalls the better, but frankly it'll just make things managing things a lot more difficult. Okay, so sometimes the net security benefit is only limited. Cloudflare, again, I would just be slightly careful. Cloudflare by default has limited firewall, and you really need to configure it. So I think some of the premium configurations they offer do provide good firewall functionality, but I think the free one has very limited protection abilities. So you really need to configure it well to make it work. Yeah, I don't think, personally, I would rarely use a cloud-based firewall and a plugin-based firewall. Only in some, yeah, I cannot think of too many situations where I'll use a combination. Okay, it can help. I'm not saying there are situations where it can help. And in fact, I'll show you where we have the cloud-based firewall, we have a plugin-based firewall, and you can see that the cloud-based firewall is protecting you from some things. The plugin-based firewall is protecting you from some other things. And if they were working in tandem together, they would have protected you from more, but they can also create a lot more problems. Some of the problems they can create are, for example, these rules are not the firewall rules. If you go look deeper into it, they're not, they're not black and white. They're not able to pinpoint exactly that this is the bad guy. They are heuristic based, and because of which there can be false positives. And if you have 2 firewalls working in tandem, then the false positives also go up significantly. So you need to be very, very careful when it comes to firewall. How do you use and which one do you use? And adding complexity is not a great. Yeah, I think there's a balance you need to hit there. Okay, so we are going to try a general vulnerability. Let's see if this is allowed. This is allowed. You can see a 200. Okay, the site got hacked. And we are going to try a SQL injection, and SQL injection got blocked. So this is a popular cloud-based firewall, and you can see that it allowed few, it blocked few. The ones it blocked, it's great that it was able to block them out, and that means that at least for these type of attacks, you know that your site would have been protected. Okay, and I personally don't think you should be disappointed that it did not block everything, because there's no such thing which will block everything. Okay, so I'm going to take another one, another popular plugin, and again run the same attacks on this plugin. You can see again both of these are premium versions of the plugin. So we know that they have all the goodies in them, and they have all the rules in them, and the vulnerabilities also are slightly old, so they have all been updated to the latest version. Okay, so this one gives a 400 bad request, but actually it means that the file or the request was allowed to go through. So the plugin, this firewall did not block this request. I'm going to upload a file. Let's see if it blocks. This one, it didn't block the upload request either. And how about the general vulnerability? And it blocked the general vulnerability. So you can see that it's some of it. There's no such thing as as something which is going to block help you completely. Okay, and we are going to try a SQL injection, and SQL injection also got blocked here. Okay, so we saw that XSS attack no one could block, whereas the upload attack, the cloud firewall blocked, whereas and the other two, SQL injection, both of them blocked, and the general vulnerability, only one of them blocked. So it really is a toss-up when it comes to what firewall you use and will it protect you completely. But nonetheless, if I had to use something, I would still use one of these firewalls, or actually I would use our own firewall, but firewalls really do help you. Any of the other mechanisms that you're talking about, hardening of WordPress site, they have limited effect, and they almost allowed, most of them cover the first part which I spoke about, you know, the attack with guns blazing. They really rarely cause any problem, and a lot of what the type of protection which the popular plugins let you do are associated with that type of are associated with protecting you from that type of attack. And that's the number of times when you get hacked because of that is very, very limited. It's less than 5% in our experience. So I would only spend so much effort and energy on hardening a WordPress site. Okay, and there's one more.
We had a couple of comments come in, Akshat. One comment being that multiple firewalls could possibly slow down the website connection. Do you have any insights on that?
Oh yes. So anything you add to your website is not like, when it comes to speed, there is a load associated with it. Again, different firewalls are built differently. In fact, some cloud firewalls can help speed things up because they act as a CDN. But yeah, there is anything you add to your site is going to slow it down, and some of the processing involved in identifying these rules and evaluating them is very heavy, so they are going to slow things down.
Yeah, and then another question is, what are your thoughts on using Cloudflare to divert traffic during an attack, and WordFence plus Defender to secure the site to have a sort of overlapping protection?
Okay, so I've not really used Defender, so I'm not well versed with it. WordFence, again, let me be clear that WordFence is a competitor, so obviously I have my biases over there. Still, I think WordFence has a pretty good firewall. Of all the plugin-based firewalls, I would almost always opt for a word fence, for the word fence firewall, if I had to add that to my site. Now coming to Cloudflare, Cloudflare diverting traffic from your, if you're under attack. See, until unless you really are under a DDoS attack, which is I think very rarely would any of us really see a DDoS attack happen. Unless that is happening, I don't think you really need to worry about redirecting traffic to some other location. Okay, your Cloudflare itself, if configured correctly, will help you get rid of, block those bots out and allow only the good traffic through. So making sure that these cloud-based firewalls are configured correctly to block out the bots is important. But that should be your modus operandi, or that should be your plan. That let the firewall do its job and keep the bad traffic out and let only the good things go through. Right, and if I think that since I'm guessing many of you are agency owners, the one thing, because you have so many websites to manage or to think about, it might be very difficult for you to just imagine keep on top of such type of attacks, because on internet such attacks are happening all the time. So for you to chase each and every one of these is not I would try and avoid it as far as possible. So in such a situation, I would try and aim for having the right tool which will assist me so that I can focus on the high value tasks.
Yeah, that absolutely, I think that answers the question. And if not, let's see, we have one more regarding that, but they say, but usually the IP blocks are for 4 minutes or so. Is it true that longer blocks are actually more of a problem? So I shouldn't set a block for like 2 days or something.
So ideally, you should never be doing IP blocks yourself. Okay. And again, I come back to the internet is attacks are happening all the time. Let the software do its job. If you've picked the right software or service, you will see that they are able to mitigate these attacks without disturbing you. If you see these alarms being raised, then personally, I would be like, okay, fine. Why is the alarm being raised? Why am I getting disturbed for something which is supposed to be so routine? Okay, and especially I keep putting myself in the shoes of an agency, or even if you have like a couple of sites, when these attacks are happening, it's very easy to get distracted from your core business. And that is what I think a lot of us should be focusing on. So let the software do its job, let it block it out for the period it finds it feels is correct. Like for example, with Malware, we will block out traffic depending on multiple factors, and we'll block it automatically. You'll not get any alarm whatsoever. The firewall will just block out the bots, and then once the bot traffic goes away, it's going to, I think it leaves it for some time, and then it clears it on its own. But as a website owner, that's not something you should be worrying about every day. Okay, it's you should be more focused on running your own business. At least that's the philosophy we try and follow with our websites.
Great, thanks for those answers, Akshat. I'll let you know if we get any more questions in.
All right, so proceeding this. Okay, so covered all of this, and we covered the solution as no foolproof security. Can I ask one question? Like, Emily, would you think that, and I already alluded to it once, are a lot of people here agencies?
Yeah, so our audience for sure is agency owners. I know that you all shared this the webinar with your audience as well, so we may have some of them in this audience as well. So if they're coming from GoWP, you can assume that they're agency owners for sure.
All right. So in case you're an agency owner, when it comes to malware, there's one more thing I would like to add. I think as agency owners, we end up using the same software very often. we'll use the same page builders, we'll use the same themes, we'll use the same plugins, because we have a set of favorite tools, and we use all of them on all our sites, because we know these are the best things to build your site with, and we'll end up using them on all our sites. And this is great. It definitely helps with productivity. It also ensures that you're really on top of all your sites, because you know these tools inside out. But it also creates one problem when it comes to security. And this is something which we have seen that agency owners do not think very deeply about, but something to be wary of, because we have seen this happen quite often. Is there can be a situation where multiple of your sites can get hacked in quick succession, simply because there's a vulnerability in the theme you are using, and you have used the same theme, or in a plugin you're using, and you have used it on multiple of your sites. And the way these attacks happen is you saw a single request can inject a malware. So, or there are automated bots out there who are sending these single requests to hundreds of thousands of millions of websites which they know are WordPress. And this can be done in a matter of hours. Millions of websites these attacks can be run on millions of websites in a matter of few hours. So what you can see is you can be in a situation where multiple of your sites are hacked, and you need to have a remediation plan, or you need to have a plan to deal with such a situation. So do think a bit about it, because that's not a pretty place to be at. And having a good disaster recovery situation, I think can definitely help you deal with this problematic thing. Okay, I'm going to end with, these are our 4 products which we started with. Emily already mentioned these in the introduction, but WP Remote, BlogVault, Malware, and Migrate Guru are our 4 products. Migrate Guru is a free migration tool, so you can use it to migrate sites between hosting providers, or from live to dev, or dev to live. Malware is a security plugin. BlogVault is a backup plugin, and then you have WP Remote, which is a single dashboard to manage multiple sites. Okay, and that's a wrap from me. So, any questions?
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Akshat. That was fantastic, and your expertise is really unparalleled here. And yeah, it's no secret that GoWP, we love BlogVault, Malware, Akshat. They're great. If you've ever had a call with us or talked with someone from our team, you know that we use them. So yeah, it's great to see all your expertise here, and it's great to see you on the screen, if not in person. So yeah, we haven't had any more questions come in yet, but I'll give everyone just a minute. If you have questions, throw them in the chat, and we'll get them to Akshat. If you have any questions for him about today's presentation. And I will let you all know that if you have registered for this webinar, which if you're watching you will be getting an email with the recording of it, so you can go back and watch if you need to. So you'll be getting that tomorrow or the next day. And also if you haven't joined our Facebook group yet, the recording is always available there immediately after this. We are live streaming that in the group now. So we'd love to have you in our Facebook group too. So I'm not seeing any more questions come in. If not, Akshat, you're a member of the group, aren't you? Or are you in our Facebook group?
I'm actually not sure, so I need to go back and check out.
Well, I'll get Akshat in the group. So I know we've got Lee and Pritesh. I know we've got some of the team in there, but maybe you might not be in there. But we'll get Akshat in the group, and if you have any questions that come up afterward, you can always ask him in the group in this recording there. So we can do that. Okay, we've got one question in here. So what about DDoS attacks to the data center of the web hoster? The person who's asking, we experienced this, and there is no Cloudflare or WordFence which can help.
Oh, right. So which is why the DDoS thing is, and actually it's an excellent question. So people often ask us whether, what if they get DDoSed? if their site gets DDoSed, and if they can use a cloud-based firewall to protect against it. And yes, absolutely, if you have a single site and that gets DDoSed, or Cloudflare can help. But the likelihood of your data center or someone else on your same infrastructure, shared infrastructure, getting DDoSed is much higher. So even if you have that extra protection at your own level, it's only of limited use if the data center gets attacked. And I think that's a very, very difficult situation when you have something like this. I think you should just, for vast majority of us, actually, we should just pray and hope that the thing stops quickly and they don't, the attack does not last for too long. What I would recommend, in case it does go on for a long time, it's not very often these DDoS attacks, at least at the data center level, can be sustained for a long time, simply because it's very, very expensive to coordinate these attacks. So in case that is not the case, in case the DDoS attack is sustained, then I will recommend changing over to a different hosting company. So hopefully you have good backups which are offsite, and I will recommend moving your site temporarily to a different to a different hosting company, and hope that the DDoS once the DDoS attack stops, then you can migrate the site back or just use a new hosting company. At least to me, that's the practical way of dealing with something like this for normal folks. I think if you are enterprise grade, certain or government level agencies, then it's a different thing. But for most of us running small businesses, I think that's the best mitigation I can think of.
Fantastic. Yeah, the asker said that confirms what they thought they should do. So thank you. Thanks for that.
And which is again, and which again tells you the importance of having backups which are independent of your hosting company, and which is why, again, I think GoWP does backups which are independent of your hosting company. And there's always these are rare cases, so it's not for only this situation. You should plan for this. There are many other good reasons, but having good offsite backups which are not dependent on your web host, I think is something which I'll highly recommend.
Yep, absolutely, Akshat. You know we do. We've got 90 days of offsite backups if anybody puts the site on GoWP. So yep, we for sure follow all those best practices. All right, we've got one more question. This is more of a marketing question, so I'm not sure you'll have the answer, but let's see. Somebody is saying that they plan on upgrading to a bigger plan on Malware Pro because they're a fan. They really like it. Is it worth waiting for Black Friday this year?
I think Lee, if she's around, will tell you. Normally, I don't know if we offer a Black Friday deals on upgrades, but do reach out. Let's. I think
we'll put that. The person who asked, they did just join the Facebook group, so I'll make sure that Lee gets that question, and she'll put a comment in the Facebook group, and we'll get that answer in there. So that's great. And Lee was watching. I'm not sure if she's currently watching though.
No, and happy to thank you. It makes my day to see someone happy with our product. So
fantastic. Okay, well, I think that does it. I don't see any more questions coming in. Again, if you haven't joined the Facebook group, please do. We're gonna get some more information over there. And thank you everybody for registering and joining us for this webinar. And thank you so much, Akshat, for taking the time. I know it's late where you are, but thank you for joining us today and giving us such a great masterclass in website security. It was amazing.
Thank you so much, Emily, for having me. Thank you everyone for attending. I'm really glad that we had so many people join us, and yeah, it's been fantastic. So I'll definitely join the group. I've made a note of it, and in case you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Fantastic. Thank you, Akshat. Have a great day. And everybody else who's watching, thank you and have a great day. We'll see you in the Facebook group. Bye.
All right. Thanks. Bye.